All right, welcome to another episode of Kiss My Assets, and we have a lot of great things to talk about here today. And I'm going to first just introduce who else is here with me. Heather Reynolds works in investor relations
It's
at
not my
Neighborhood.
name.
Heather Reynolds.
Yeah, but
Heather
maybe
Andrews works in investor relations at Neighborhood Ventures, and Carson Kraus works at ABI Commercial Capital, and they're one of our partners. They help us a lot with getting capital for our projects, and he sees a lot of what's happening in the market. So thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to hearing your insights.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and they also work upstairs at the Grid. So we're here at the Grid studio. And
they also have the better snacks upstairs.
They do have better
I just
snacks
want
up here.
to say that on air.
And we always grab some on our way back
Yes, we do.
downstairs. Well, to kick it off, one of the things that I know Heather was going to be excited about is an article that came out that says the headline, "Single Women Are Buying More Homes Now Than Ever."
I'm not going to say I wrote it, but I could have.
Yes,
Yes.
and you could have been a contributor.
I could have.
So tell us a little bit about your experience. You just bought a home, about a year
and a half ago before it went crazy. I bought it when it was
Good
a
timing.
real good time to
Yeah,
buy.
great timing.
And I never thought, I'm a little bit older, I didn't ever think I'd be buying a home unless it was with somebody else but then it was time. I thought we're going to grow up. We're going to buy a house. And it was my whole personality for at least a year. It's the only thing I wanted to talk about. And that's one thing the article talks about, that women are much more proud about once they buy a home. They are so
Much more proud than men typically, than a single man.
than a single man.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this article focuses on is obviously families and couples buy homes frequently.
Yes.
But we know that the millennial generation is getting married later. They are putting off families till later.
Mhm.
And so the single side of the equation is now making up a big percentage of home buyers. So just to put into context, in 2021, 19% of home buyers, almost 1 in 5, were single women.
Yes.
And then only 9% were single men.
Which accurately reflects the dating pool as well. I just think that's a true statistic.
Well, tell us a bit about that. What do you mean?
There's way more women. There's less. Where are the men? That's what there's about 9%.
That's for another podcast,
Yes.
but you're just saying it's correlated.
Yes.
So 87% of women believe that they don't need to wait to be married to buy a house. I think if you were to go back 40 years ago, 2 generations ago, early 80s, definitely 6 years ago, like 1960s, that number, that would have been probably under 20% of people of single women said that they don't need to wait to get married to buy a home.
Yeah.
But now it's like basically 9 out of 10 are saying, I don't need to be waiting around.
Yeah.
And why? I mean,
Because Beyonce said we didn't have to wait.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just kind of weird to think about that would even be something that would hold people back. But, times are different. I get it. But now you look at the benefits from a tax standpoint. You look at the financial benefits, including taxes. You look at the lifestyle benefits. Mm-hmm. I think there was always a little bit of a hesitancy around, the maintenance of having a house. That, I'm a single guy. That's something I think about. And I can imagine that's anybody who's single is going to have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. But the benefits far outweigh any of those hesitancies, and this is just kind of goes to show some of the changing demographics and how that works out. So yeah, 87% say they don't need to be married. 65% said they would rather buy it single than when they got married. If you get married, now you have to share in that asset. If you can go buy it on your own.
I love not sharing.
You don't have to deal with that with anyone.
I would love to marry someone who lived next door in his own house with his own bathroom.
That's perfect.
I worked very hard to make it very pink inside my house.
Now, there is a wage gap, we know, men and women wage gap. Some of it has to do with different jobs. There's some of that, but there is, and the wage gap has shrunk. But in general, women earn 17% less than men
Mm-hmm.
in the workforce in 2021. And as I said, some of that can be factored into different jobs, different careers, but about 41% of that pay gap can't be equated to just being different jobs. There's
That was
just
my
a
favorite
difference
statistic.
in the same job,
Yeah.
different pay.
That there is like an element of discrimination still, and so women they can't quantify this 41%.
Right.
But despite that, single women versus single men are more likely to pay on time, despite having higher mortgage rates, despite having jobs that might pay less. They're more likely to pay on time and to
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's in there. So
it's like if they're going to buy a house,
Yeah.
they're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And I just anecdotally, I know the single women in my social circle and my family, they take care of their stuff better than the single guys in my social circle. They're paying
Except
their
for
bills
you,
more on
Carson.
time.
If you are single, I'm sure you take care of your stuff very well.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a house same time, February of 2021.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a single guy, so
Yeah.
I guess I'm part of the
You're one
exception.
you're one of that 9%.
Yeah.
Well, there's 9%. It's just double or twice as many single women
Right.
decided to make that move.
Did it ever occur to you I should wait till? Did you bought it on your own?
Uh-huh.
You didn't think, oh, I better wait for someone to buy with, or you just
No,
you were
so I
ready
mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty young, so that my goal was to kind of get some roommates in there and kind of house hack a little bit.
Okay.
So they're kind of paying, like half my mortgage. So
That's
it just made more sense. My rent kept going up too at my apartment. So I was
Yeah.
like, I might as well lock in this really low interest rate. I'm locked into a monthly payment that I know is going to be steady for the next 30 years.
Oh, it's brilliant.
And I found a good house. I really liked it. So I went ahead.
And you probably got a good interest rate.
Yeah, it was
You
like
bought-
2.8.
Yeah.
So.
And were you proud of it? Did you tell everybody?
No, I'm not like that.
I
I also,
everybody.
I mean, for me, it's like I bought a house, but then I know there's a lot of people my age who are like millionaires buying mansions. So
You're being humble with that.
yeah. So like you always kind of look up when you
Yeah.
get to the next level.
That might be a
in
guy
life.
thing.
I think
Okay,
that's kind of
I bought a
guy
small
thing.
house
Yeah.
and I'm thrilled.
So I was just more like, yeah, this is great, but my goals.
There was no Instagram
more
post.
still.
You're-
No.
Carson.
I mean, I have a lot of guy friends that do brag about stuff, and I just don't like that.
Well,
it's just not my
it's
personality.
about the house,
Yeah.
but like the accomplishment, I think, of that you did this thing, this step in adulthood. That
Yeah. No, it is
Yeah.
it is impressive and it is great, but I don't like to pat myself on the back too much.
Well, I will. Good job.
Thank you.
And I think part of that article discussed that women do get more. They share it more, but I also think it's more of an accomplishment in a way because it's changing that trend that you need to wait, that you can't do it on your own. So it makes sense that there's a bit more of a feeling there of accomplishment, because it is a big accomplishment. It's a big accomplishment for anyone to buy a house, period, let alone do it on your own, qualify, all of those things. Now, kind of shifting gears, talking a bit about what's happening in the housing market, and specifically multifamily. So let me just end that prior conversation by saying congratulations, both of you.
Thank you.
Single homeowners.
But mostly me.
Yes.
Mostly other. So rents now have moved up a lot in the last couple of years. Now we're seeing with inflation that the cost of everything is kind of slowing down as the government and the Fed has stepped in, tried to slow down our economy. In Phoenix, median rents, so the difference between average and median is important. Average rents in the last year are up about 20%. Median rents are up 46% in the last year in Phoenix. Tucson's are up 124%. So in Tucson, in August, it was basically $2,000 a month, and 1 year prior to that, it was $1,000 a month. So it's the median rents have increased by 100%. It says 124%, but I just calculated in my head right now is 100%, basically 1,000, 2,000. In Phoenix, the median rent now is $2,350 per month. That's up $736 from prior year. But so we know that those numbers are moving up, and what's happened now is that we're starting to see that increase in rent is now kind of plateauing. And in Phoenix in particular, it looks like if you look at the curve, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see this graph. But if you're listening to it, I'll just describe it. It's a curve it's a graph that's going up, and now it's plateauing. So how is that for description? And actually, for now 2 months, the average rent fell now 2 months in a row. And now the median in Phoenix, or sorry, the median nationwide went from 1781 to 1771, so it went down $4 from July to August. So we're happy to see that trend because inflation has taken the cost of everything up. Now rents, it looks like things are going to start to stabilize. We're apartment owners, so when the market is moving up, we have to move up the rents with the market. When the market is stable and it's moving up more like a general 2 to 4% a year, that's just fine with us as well. Yeah. But it's good to see that is starting to peak.
So even with that kind of skyrocketing, like we still nationwide are still pretty affordable though in comparison. We don't make the very top 10 lists. We're like number 38, I think, of like the most.
You mean Phoenix?
Yeah, Phoenix.
Phoenix
So
nationwide. We're still more affordable than a lot of markets. But if you kind of talk to people, there were a lot of people who 5 years ago, 10 years ago moved to Arizona. Mm-hmm. And one of the big reasons was because of the affordability. Yes. And I think that's kind of shifting a little bit because it's still more affordable than a lot of places. Yeah. But it's not the first thing that comes into your mind anymore. I don't think. I don't know what.
But we have more stuff to offer. We're building lots of things.
Well, look, and I think that's where Arizona has to go because if you're only talking about price, it's like if you're selling a car and the person comes in and they're like, how much will you sell a car? And you just go to the lowest price. Mm-hmm. You're not a great salesperson. It's better to come in and say, well, before we talk about the price, take a seat in the leather.
Try it out.
Recline it back, turn up that air conditioning, turn on that stereo, get some good music going, and then you talk about the price later. Like it's not the leading thing. If it's the leading thing, then generally it's become a commoditized product, like whatever the cheapest pizza is what you're going to buy. So Arizona needs to go beyond just being the cheapest place to live.
Yeah.
And I think there's some maturity that has to happen there.
We're a fancy pizza now.
Yeah, we have to go from Little Caesars, which is pretty good for $5. I mean, it's a good. Is it still $5? I don't know. It was $5 for a long time. With inflation, it's $6.
My parents love the $5 fresh and hot and ready or something.
But it's
the bane
$6
of my
now.
existence.
But
on
that's
Friday
pretty
nights.
good for $6. But we're probably more like the Pizza Hut or Papa John's,
like a Domino's. Not quite.
Yeah, I'm thinking Tucson's Domino's because Domino's is. I don't. Tucson's getting there, but Domino's. Okay, so we got Little Caesars. What's Domino's the next kind of low tier, or you think? Pizza
I thought
Hut?
it was above.
You put Domino's above like Pizza Hut
because like they have the lava cakes and like the cheese sticks or the cinnamon sticks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some other
extras.
good options.
I put Domino's probably
That's
below
fair.
Little Caesars.
That's
I
fair.
don't like Domino's, but Pizza Hut, you get the pan. And
I
it's
haven't had
pretty
pizza
good.
in a
I
while.
feel like,
but-
are either of you native enough to know Barrows?
Yeah,
Barrows
That
is
was
good.
the elite pizza when I was in
Barrows
high
is
school.
It's good.
There we go.
It is very
I
good.
mean, okay, so now we got elite. To me, is kind of like LGO if you're in Arizona.
Yeah, like
Yes.
Pizzeria Bianco.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's like the
there's
Yes.
yes. There's what's the one called on Camelback? There's Pomo. There's some others that are. So okay, so Arizona isn't that yet, but I think we're moving up from Little Caesars and Domino's to. I'd say we're a solid Pizza Hut. So. So those amenities now, like obviously the weather is good here. Yes. That's always been here, but I think the biggest thing that's changing, and this kind of leads into another story that came up, is we're now starting to see better paying jobs come to Arizona. For a long time, it was all about construction. It was there was a lot of kind of service-oriented jobs that, APS, working for Cox, working for construction, those types of jobs, which are good jobs, blue-collar jobs. But now we're starting to see some of these higher-paying corporate type jobs. The two semiconductor plants that are going up, one in North Phoenix, one in Chandler. The people that are going to come in and fill those huge buildings that they're building, they're going to be high-paid folks. And so I think Arizona is starting to move up, so it's not just all about the cost. And so that's one of the big things is the wages are getting better. Quality of life, I think quality of life is, besides the hot months, is pretty good.
Yeah, mostly because I live by my mom. So my quality of life is very good. She takes care of me, but also many other things here.
Not nearly as bad of traffic as a lot of big cities.
Yeah?
This is true.
So,
No, that's big.
yeah.
And I mean, I live downtown or uptown, and being able to take, light rails really easy downtown, go to a Diamondbacks game, Suns game is really easy. You try to do that in a big city, it's a nightmare. Trying to get out to, Yankee Stadium in New York, or trying to get to Dodger Stadium, you're sitting in traffic for hours. Try to get to JFK. Heather's from New York, she knows.
Yes.
Try to get to JFK to get a flight. Here, Sky Harbor is so easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And they're building more and more of these like mixed use spaces here. They're trying to create, I think, these kind of mini walkable communities that are, I think that's what people are looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want everything near me.
Right.
I want to
And-
feel like the center of my world.
That's one of the metrics that came out is Arizona just became ranked the third state in the U.S. for its economic outlook, ranked 3 out of 50. In 2021, we were 13. And so economic outlook is more looking at the jobs, the wages, the quality of jobs, it looks at this particular study looks at a lot of 13 different variables, including tax rate, government, quality of life, the debt of the municipality, and we are now third in economic outlook from 13th a year ago. So I think a lot of this stuff is starting to it will start to kind of coalesce as we get more of these tech jobs, more of these higher end paying jobs in the Phoenix market, so that you don't necessarily want to be known for, oh, it's affordable.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want to be Little Caesars. It's not a bad business to be in Little Caesars, but how long, you don't necessarily want to be the place that's known for just being affordable. So inventory is the other thing we look at a lot with housing, and inventory has gone up a lot relative to where it has been in the last 6 months and the last couple of years. But while it's improved, we are still below our historic norm with inventory. Before the pandemic and before all the crazy housing stuff started, March 2020, there were nationally 1.3 million homes for sale. So that was kind of where we were before the craziness started. Once we got into the craziness, March 2022, so 2 years later, that had gone all the way down to 653,000 homes for sale, and this is nationally. Now we're back up to 968,000, so almost a million, but we're still not to that 1.3 million. And one quote from an economist says, "I think there are a significant number of homeowners who are locked into very, very low mortgage rates, and we've seen people who are staying put, living in their homes longer, renovating instead of moving." So even though we're seeing an uptick in inventory, a lot of that's due to homes staying on the market longer, not necessarily more homes coming on. The recent uptick in inventory isn't because a lot more people listed their homes on the market. It's more because homes are sitting longer without selling than they did earlier this year. New listings are actually down 20% year over year, according to Redfin. So we're seeing some increased inventory, which is good. Prices have come down a little bit from their
Smidge.
peaks, but if you're a buyer and you're still kind of sitting there going, well, that house that I was looking at that was $750,000 is now $700,000, but my interest is going to be 6%. Do you know what are interest rates on? I don't know if this is the same for what you do and what homes are, but last I saw, 30-year interest rate was over 6% for a home.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Probably around 6.5
Yeah.
for residential.
And we know likely going to continue to move up over the next 6 months through the end of the year. And it really depends on what happens with inflation and if we can get that under control. So to that point, Phoenix homes values have started to decline very, very subtly off the high prices that we saw earlier this year. And now we've had it 2 months in a row. From June to July, they went down 2.8%. From July to August, they went down 1.5%. So we're starting to see some of that, some of those declines in being able to sell your home, but that is also based on a much higher interest rate for that buyer. The national average was down 0.3% from July to August. So Phoenix is a little bit higher. We saw Phoenix and other markets in the West and the Southwest had the biggest increases in value over the last couple of years, and so it's natural that they would also see the larger declines. LA and San Francisco were the ones that had the biggest declines from July to August. Both of those saw a 3.4% decline. Sacramento 3.2%. Salt Lake City, go Utes, down 2.6%, and Seattle the same. So all those markets are based in the West, and then kind of the last thing, which is what we were talking about before, is Phoenix values still remain strong. Our average per home is $463,000. Let me just, since you don't have this article in front of you, $463,000 is the average home price in 2022, August. What do you think the average home price was in August 2019? So $463 now.
Yeah.
What was it August 2019?
Was it like 275 or 300?
Pretty good guess.
Yeah, because I know how quickly mine jumped up in less than a
Yeah.
year. So I think in 2019 it had to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, this is why we have you guys on as guests. 280,000.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
280 to 463 in 2 years, so this or 3 years. So this is, as a homeowner, all you're doing is paying your mortgage, and it's working for you at that level. So we're seeing the things that we expected to see as interest rates started to move up. We're not seeing, all these people who are trying to come out and say, sky is falling, that values were going to start to crater. I mean, we're already at almost 4% higher interest rates at 6.5%, and values are still very stable nationally and in markets like Phoenix. And you have to look at the fundamentals, that there are people like yourselves, like myself, have a good low mortgage. You're going to go buy a home right now and
No.
buy something at 6.5%
I
and
live
try
in
to
my
sell your
coffin.
home?
It was such a good rate for such a this is where I'm staying
Yeah,
forever.
and you should.
Yeah.
You should. Like,
I'm not young and cool where I can have roommates come in and
yeah, well,
hack my house.
Carson's
No.
on he's going to own, he's on house 1 of 10 in
Yes.
his life and just keep
I am
climbing.
very last leg.
Yeah.
This is it.
And your roommates, how many roommates do you have?
Just 2.
Okay, so you can deal with 2 roommates, especially when they're paying rent.
Right.
But if don't have your best friends move in there, because if they stop
You
paying
won't be
rent,
friends
you
anymore.
still have to let them live there to be
Right.
nice. And
Yeah.
Can't
so,
fall in love or
No,
be
they.
friends.
I mean,
has to be a
they're
business
good
thing.
friends of mine, but I cut them a pretty good deal, so I don't think they're going to go anywhere.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we'll be good.
So
As long as they clean up the kitchen.
yeah,
They're pretty clean. We keep the house tidy. I try to run a tight ship.
you got to run a tight ship.
Yeah.
At your house, you can't.
The wheels can come off pretty quickly.
Yeah,
with
and
3
it's
guys.
got to
Just
be your
this is
sanctuary.
business.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, the last topic So we talk about this acronym called NIMBYism, which is not in my backyard. I don't want development. I don't want construction in my backyard. I don't want anything in my neighborhood to change, but I'm
Yeah.
so concerned about all the people who don't have housing, but
Yep.
not here in my backyard. And it's hard for people to get used to because we always want to assume that the problems can be solved somewhere else. But what's really come out is folks in neighborhoods, and particularly in urban areas, that really should be leading the way in more dense housing projects. A place like Central Phoenix that can take additional capacity, and people that live in those neighborhoods saying we don't want more housing here. I've seen a sign not recently, but it said height is blight. They didn't want to have any more stories up, and so it's something that until it affects you, it's a big problem. But now when it affects you, you don't want to do anything about it. And Oregon's a good example of this. In 2019, I'm sure well-meaning folks put in rent control statewide. They didn't want rent to be able to go up more than a certain fixed amount. And now they're seeing all kinds of problems, especially around investment, because if you're a capitalist, if you're a developer, you have to know that you can go in and get a return on your investment for you and your investors. And if you're looking at a market to go in and that market won't allow you to take rents to the market rate, you're going to go build somewhere else. Yep. And so it's the typical well-meaning people in government. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're well-meaning, wanting to do the right thing, but also overreaching, in my opinion, to try to do the right thing and then causing more harm in the economy. Now Oregon doesn't have enough housing, and now prices are going way up. Rents are actually increasing much more than what the rent control amount was because of inflation, because part of that bill, they allowed that inflation, if inflation increased a certain amount.
That was interesting. Like only this amount, but there's a cushion for inflation. And so now it's jumped like 14%, where no one was expecting that.
Yeah, so you go there thinking you're not going to have these big increases, but you actually are. And I think the big takeaway here is more housing is the best rent control. Wherever you are, wherever you live, especially if you're in a growth area, there needs to be more housing. And that instead of coming in with restrictive rules, government's heavy hand, instead of doing that, what government can do is make housing development easier, limit the amount of time it takes to get things rezoned in the city. They don't have to give big tax breaks to developers like they do to Amazon or anything like that, but government has a role in this, but it definitely isn't what they did in Arizona or in Oregon, where they put in rent controls and now no one wants to go build there because you never know when the government is going to come in and slap those rent controls again. And if they've come in with those initial rent controls, they'll probably continue to come in and be restrictive to property owners. So, we have a situation right now in across the country where we're going to be an interesting time. We need more housing. We do have a lot of units coming on the market that have been kind of a glut. They've been sitting on the conveyor belt for a long time while materials were backed up. And this year, we're going to see a lot of those come on the market. But in places like Oregon, they're not, because people didn't want to go and build there.
Well, I think the president he tweeted something that there's no capitalism without competition. Like, I think it's kind of the same thing, right? That there has to be choices, there has to be options. If there's just one little place for people to go, No one's coming in to like invest in that neighborhood. There's no,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you are someone who's going to risk your own time and money and
Yeah.
investors' money, you're going to gravitate to the areas where you're more likely going to do that. And so it makes perfect sense. And government does have an important role here. It isn't just free market, let the free market do everything, but it's more about how does government support that additional growth.